What this 11-year-old Japanese girl did is truly chilling and will leave you completely speechless. Anyone who is a fan of horror must watch the video from the beginning until the end, because know that there is much to discuss. In fact, today I will tell you who this little girl was before the events that made her famous, what really happened, and most importantly, what happened after the events. Since this is a real news topic, I ask you not to go overboard in your comments and to be kind, and let's start with the story of Nevada Tan, killer at age 11 because of horror films. We are in Japan, exactly in Sasebo, a Japanese city in Nagasaki Prefecture. It is the 21st of November 1992, and in a clinic in the city a baby girl is born, whose name is Natsumi, but in the video I will call her Nevada, and then later I will explain why. Nevada lives in a family with a somewhat complicated situation, but not too complicated either. Her father is Pakistani, while her mother is Japanese. Nevada's childhood passes quietly, or at least that is believed. But there are rumors going around that even in her early years, Nevada often had fits of anger, although this is quite normal for practically all children. What, on the other hand, was not very normal in Nevada-tan was his logical reasoning, which already at only 2 or 3 years old was highly developed compared to other children. Thus, the first few years of life passed without any major events, and Nevada began elementary school, which in Japan begins at age 6. A very large part of this whole story is about a school context, which is obviously different in Japan than in Italy, and now I will try to explain it briefly. In Japan, elementary school does not last 5 years as it does here, but 6, and it ends at 12. But the biggest difference is the pressure. In Japan, the pressure on children, because we are still talking about children, is enormous. And 100% is demanded from each of them in school. Already in Italy, this problem, you know very well, is very serious. Just think that in Japan it is even 10 times worse. Often, in fact, activities, maybe sports or out of school, are viewed very poorly. Because there is this philosophy that the only thing a child of that age should do is just study. Keep this last point in mind, especially because it will be very crucial in the continuation of this terrifying story. Nevada-tan was considered a child prodigy. In fact, in Japan it is compulsory to take the IQ test, and Nevada had scored 140, which would be almost genius level. So everyone expected the most from her. The intelligence she had shown in her early years had developed even more. In fact, as early as 1st grade, she had 3rd to 4th grade knowledge and really unerring logic. She was a real little genius. She did not like so much to show it. She was not that kind of child who always raised her hand to answer the question, but when she did, the answer was always correct from what is known. She was not even a studious child. In fact, she studied just the right amount, neither a little nor a lot. And for this very reason, her parents were often angry with her. Yet in spite of the fact that her classmates studied 10, even 20 times more than she did, she was the one who always got the highest grades. But the thing that pulled the most attention to Nevada was her charisma. She often made sarcastic jokes, many times even black humor, despite the fact that she was literally 7 years old. She was a kind, helpful, nice person. Every single adjective you could think of could be attributed to Nevada. She really never wronged anyone, or at least let's say she tried to. She was also a somewhat peculiar girl in sports. In some sports, finding someone poorer than her was really rare, while in others she was unbeatable, like for example basketball. She was passionate about basketball and thought about it all day long. She did not miss a game, a practice, a single match, nothing. And beyond that, she was really good and played even with boys much older than her. She was 9 to 10 years old, while her teammates even 12 to 13. All this, however, did not please her mother, who, like all parents in Japan, only cared about studying and hard work in school. And because of this, he decided to make a heavy decision that would change Nevada forever. Nevada, with the beginning of her senior year of elementary school, underwent profound changes. Her grades in school plummeted exponentially, and she as a person had changed. She no longer looked people in the eye. She spoke less and less with each passing day, and the sunny child everyone knew was as if she had disappeared. It was almost as if she no longer cared about anything except for a single thing: basketball. Basketball was the only thing that made her happy. The only time of the day when she felt like herself. while the rest of the day it was as if she was empty inside. She didn't pay attention in school, she didn't study, she was always unprepared. If someone not close spoke to her, she completely ignored him. Let's say she had developed a lot of antisocial behavior, and the only place where she was okay and felt good was when she was playing basketball. And of course that didn't sit well with anyone, neither with her professors nor with her mother, who decided to remove her from all basketball activities and decided to give her as punishment that she couldn't leave the house except to go to school. All that until the end of the year. At this point, we are in 2004 and Nevada, bored at home, discovers the internet. The internet in 2004 was a magical place, cute and cuddly, let's say. It was the year of the explosion of Tushan, the father of the site that I won't name, but we all know Tushan was a forum where you could talk about any stuff that in 2004, especially in Japan, had made a lot of noise. We're also talking about the year in which so many horror phenomena that are still being passed down to this day were created, such as Jeff the Killer, about whom I also plan to make a separate documentary on his entire history. And in general, in 2004 in particular, the very first foundations of the internet culture that we know today were created. This little parenthesis on what the internet was like at the time was obligatory, so that you can identify even more with the story and also to better understand the context of the whole story. Since from now on we will stop with the boring stuff of real life, but we will talk about the internet. Nevada, with the obligation of having to stay at home for months, out of boredom decides to take the laptop she was only using to write school texts and start surfing the internet. At the time, of course, there was no such thing as YouTube, TikTok or stuff like that, so if you wanted to search for something in particular on the internet, you too had to be a programmer. This is what Nevada does on the internet, which is impressive bearing in mind that she is 11 years old at this point in the story. She initially gets into Japanese kawaii culture, which was already quite evolved at the time, also interacting very frequently, having nothing to do all day, on forums like 2chan or other Japanese forums that unfortunately I can't pronounce. And slowly he began to comment on more and more forums until he created his own. She creates her own blog where she talks about what she likes, her passions, her favorite anime, and so on and so forth. I actually found that at the time it was very common among people to make personal blogs where they talked about whatever was on their minds. Surely, however, it was rare for an 11-year-old girl to do such blogs. The crazy thing is that Nevada manages to bring all her classmates to this personal blog of hers, and so Nevada's blog becomes a kind of class group before class groups even existed. With the only difference being that soon this will all take a very disturbing form. Nevada gets into many things on the internet, but after surfing for quite a while, there is just one topic that interests her more and more and more: horror, and in general disturbing things, starting from the trivial urban horror legends that today we will call creepypasta, going through horror movies, horror anime, horror animations, all the way to real gore and violent videos in Nevada. So she was interested in everything that fell under the category of shocking things. She starts watching more and more and more horror things and surfing right in the internet funds of everything related to horror until she finds a creepypasta that strikes her more than the other creepypasta that after the events will make a lot of discussion, starting many conspiracy theories that question the truth about this story. But stay with me because now we talk about it in detail. You should know that in 2004 there was a story going around, a creepypasta they would call it today, about a place on the internet that you should never visit. And we are really talking about the dark sides of 2chan. Legend has it that if you for some strange reason decided you wanted to browse 2chan for too long, arriving at threads with 0 replies in the deepest depths of the site, there would be a very small chance of catching a particular virus. Different from all the others, and much more disturbing, the Red Room virus, which would be a pop-up that can appear on your computer at any time. It appears in a red window with the question, "Do you like the Red Room?" in Japanese. If you try to close the pop-up, it continuously reappears, making it impossible to close it. In this pop-up, there will be a series of questions, and if you answer them all, your name will appear at the top of a long list of names. Most of these are your friends, family members, or acquaintances. The next day, Again, according to the legend, you will be found dead in your bedroom, and the walls of your room will be stained with your own blood, hence red. The only way to get rid of this, in quotes, curse, is to kill one of the names on the list. And Nevada, on the 15th of May 2004, writes in Tuchan, I want to find the Red Room virus. Does anyone know how? And in the following days, according to the investigation, Nevada would look for the virus in any way. And apparently, at least from what is known, to no avail. If you have not been paying attention, I suggest you watch this part of the video again, because if you pay attention to the details, the end of this story will take on an even more gruesome interpretation than it already has. But leaving that aside, you should know that Nevada was developing a really peculiar obsession with violent stories. There is a 2003 movie called Battle Royale, which no, it is not the one from Fortnite, but it is a Japanese movie where a high school on a field trip gets lost on a deserted island. And in a nutshell, everyone kills each other until there is only one student left. It would be a bit of a Japanese Hunger Games / Squid Game. Nevada likes this movie very much. She was always watching it, even several times a day. Even in his blog, he made a quote-unquote modified version of this movie, where instead of the main characters, there are his classmates who are all killed in brutal and terrible ways by Nevada, who eventually wins the game, and that he posted it on the blog where all his classmates could see it. He had also seen a series called The Monday Night Mystery Theater, where most of the people are killed with box cutters. And Nevada, impassioned by this, decides to take a box cutter and cut off the heads of all the dolls in her room. Alright. At this point, many of you would consider her a disturbed psychopathic person to keep away from. Yet, at the time, no one had said anything. Nevada's parents had not even noticed what their son was looking at. And in fact, he had friends too. The main one, let's say his best friend, was named Satomi Mitarai. There is a lot of debate about this, because there are some people who think they were best friends, while others think they hated each other's guts. And now I will explain why. Satomi and Nevada were always fighting. Whatever happened was always the other's fault. And Satomi is the only person who notices that maybe there is something wrong with Nevada. In fact, he tries to talk to her both when she had decided to shut herself off at the beginning of the year, asking her if she was okay, what was going on, etc., etc. And then, when she starts getting into violent things, even in that case, Satomi gets worried. Especially in one particular case, Satomi, after seeing the picture of her dead in Nevada's imaginary battle royale, asks her, "But do you really want me to die?" And Nevada, very coldly, replies, "It would not change anything for me." But being 11-year-olds, despite this answer, which I think is asylum-like, they continue to be friends. Until, one day, something happens. Nevada and Satomi were playing piggyback, which is when you get on top of your friend and he carries you around, nothing more complicated than that. And Satomi, who was carrying Nevada, says, "Gee, but you're heavy." Nevada gets really upset, runs right away to cry, and then, back home in her blog, she starts bad-mouthing Satomi, writing her the worst insults. Because Nevada thought Satomi called her fat, saying she was heavy. The quarrel continues online, Satomi calling Nevada sick for her particular passions. And Nevada responds by saying that her life would be perfect without Satomi. At this point, Nevada goes to sleep, and so does Satomi. Nevada wakes up, and it is June 1, 2004, a date she will never forget. Usually, Nevada always had her mother do her backpack in the morning to speed up the processes, whereas that morning she decides to do it all. She is much stranger than usual. She does not speak, she does not respond, she seems to have almost no feeling with a completely blank look. She goes to school, and even there everyone notices that something was wrong. The way Nevada stared at the rest of her classmates was different. Even the teacher asks her if everything was okay, to make you understand how noticeable it was that everything was not okay. And Nevada replies that she had only a little anxiety about the last tests before graduation, since at this point in the story, elementary school would be over 2 weeks later. And the teacher is buying it after all, that's normal, isn't it? Yet Nevada's behavior was anything but normal. 11 o'clock is recess, and recess in the courtyard. At 11:30 classes would start again. Nevada goes to Satomi and tells her, "You know, I wanted to apologize for what happened the last few days. I was wrong, and I wanted to apologize. Also because it had now been almost a week since the event that started their huge fight. Satomi tells her not to worry, that it is all resolved, and hugs her. At this point, they start talking for a while and Nevada looks at the time. It is 11:10 and he immediately tells Satomi to follow her. Precisely, he tells her that he wanted to play a game together with her and Satomi accepts. Nevada takes her to an empty classroom, completely isolated from all the others, and he tells her that in order to apologize, since she has greatly regretted the insults he said to her, he wants to surprise her. Satomi doesn't quite understand, and at this point Nevada takes a chair, puts it in the middle of the classroom and makes Satomi sit in it. She takes a blindfold that she had brought and tells Satomi that she should blindfold herself and then she would take the blindfold off when the surprise came out. Actually, the way Nevada says all this does not help because she says everything in a very disturbing way and Satomi is very scared. She tells her, "But are you sure, Nevada, that I have to blindfold myself?" And Nevada nods. At this point, there is a few seconds of silence. Satomi couldn't see anything at all, and Nevada slowly pulls out a box cutter and without saying a single word cuts her throat cleanly, killing her before Satomi, a 12-year-old girl, could say anything. He later cuts her wrists, her arms, and causes very serious wounds on her legs as well. What I am about to tell you is really disturbing, at which point Nevada removes the blindfold from Satomi and looks into her eyes until her last breath. At this point, many believe that Nevada wanted to take her own life as she had tried to make a small cut on her legs, but she stopped immediately. After making sure that Satomi was 100% lifeless, she put her back in the chair from which she had fallen during the killing and exited the courtroom. It was now 11:40, recess was now over, and classes were beginning again. One was just waiting for Nevada and Satomi, which was not the first time they had been late. At this point, Nevada came out of the classroom all covered in blood with an apathetic look and a quiet walk as if nothing was wrong and headed for the classroom. Therefore, Nevada enters the classroom with her clothes completely covered in blood. Everyone panics, especially the teacher, as they think she has hurt herself. But why? I mean, it's obvious. You see an 11-year-old girl completely covered in blood, even with a small cut on her leg, with a box cutter in her hand, and the first thing you think of is that she's hurt herself. The teacher asks her if she was okay, if she was hurt, if she wanted to call home, and Nevada replies, "No, I'm fine. Everything is okay," with a devastating calmness. At this point, the teacher almost ignores what the child says and is about to call the ambulance, but Nevada says, "You don't understand. The blood is not mine." And then everyone is puzzled. It takes a few seconds before she puts two and two together and realizes that Satomi had not yet returned to class. The teacher asks Nevada, "Where is Satomi?" And Nevada responds with a coldness and calmness that is hallucinating. "I don't know, I think she's dead." The teacher immediately thinks it's a prank but sends all the school teachers and even the pupils to search the whole school for Satomi. And not even 10 minutes later they find her there in that empty, lifeless classroom. They call the ambulance first and the police immediately afterwards, and both immediately rush to the scene. The ambulance rightly says there's nothing more to be done. Satomi Mitarai is dead. While the police do not believe that an 11-year-old girl had done this because it seemed like expert hands, but Nevada continues to confirm that it was her and that no man had forced her or told her to say she did it. She had both done the act and had wanted to do it. So after that, the officers realize that indeed it was her and they arrest her. They take her to the barracks and give her the classic interrogation, which in her case I'll tell you about because it's really disturbing. People ask, "Why did you do that?" And Nevada answers, "She was bothering me, she was always insulting me, so I did it." It turns out that the murder was premeditated and he had been planning and studying it to perfection for 4 days. He also reveals to the officers all his passions and in general tells the whole story that I have told you up to now to the individual details. The first few hours after the event, Nevada does not seem shaken at all. She seems almost proud of what she has done. And each time she always replies that yes, she killed her as if it were a boast. She also specifies that she got the inspiration for the use of the box cutter from that series I told you about earlier where they all kill with box cutters, the Monday Night Mystery Theater. Nevada begins to realize what she had done after she falls asleep. As soon as she wakes up, she realizes that what she had just experienced was not a dream, as she probably thought, but she really did it. And then she panics. She cries and cries her eyes out. She refuses all food, and for about 4 days she ate nothing but bread. She was completely devastated. What she didn't know was that the story had already gone around Japan and the world, and that everyone was talking about it in all of Japan. In the following days, nothing else was being talked about but baby A and baby B. You should know that in Japan they value privacy very much, especially the privacy of minors. In fact, Nevada and Satomi's real first and last names were never revealed. And causing a stir was little girl A, that would be Nevada. Also because an 11-year-old killer girl killing another 12-year-old girl, let's just say that's not something you see every day. Soon, this absurd story made its way around the world. And in addition to the story of the event itself, Nevada's passions were also publicized. And this set off a huge debate about how violent movies or TV series are dangerous for young children, because they can pass off unhealthy behaviors such as murder for everyday things. There was also a debate about whether to try Nevada as an adult or not, since the age to finish Argabio in Japan at the time was 13 while Nevada was 11, and therefore she was simply sent to a halfway house until 2008 and then on probation until 2012, and from 2012 until now Nevada is a free woman. But now why throughout the video did I call her Nevada if Nevada is not her real name? On the internet in the 2005 starts the little girl to mania. Everyone was crazy about this killer. They were making fan art, animations, cosplay, disgusting things. She had become a mass idol for some strange reason. An icon. She was given by the internet the name Nevada, since her real name was not known, and because in one of the very few pictures that was had at the time of her, she was wearing the University of Nevada sweatshirt, and tan, in fact, means something like sweatshirt. So she was given by the internet the name Nevada Tan. Her real name remained unknown until 2009, when a Japanese TV program was showing her drawings and accidentally forgot to censor the signature, showing everyone her real name by mistake, that is Natsumi Tsuji. The community of people who have Nevada as an icon, believe it or not, continues to this day, and in fact in some Japanese and non-Japanese communities, his face has become practically a meme. Where Nevada is today is unknown. All that is known is that he is 30 years old and still lives in Japan. Alleged photos of Nevada in the present day are circulating, but none of them have been confirmed as real. What is known, however, is that after diagnosis, it was discovered that Nevada suffered from some mental disorders, and I think that is kind of the center of this whole story. It was clear that Nevada was not well, and yet you through ignorance or you through something else, no one realized it. I am of the opinion that if anyone had realized the problems she was facing, Satomi would probably still be alive. This is to tell you that if you think you are not well, or you see someone dear or close to you who seems not to be well, talking can really make a difference. Because no one knows what goes on in another person's mind, so always check that all the people close to you are okay, and especially that you are okay. I recommend, don't be afraid to talk, because then really bad things happen if you don't talk. But having said that, this was killer at 11 years old. It becomes a meme, Nevada-tan. Even if in reality there is something that doesn't add up.